looks suspicious.
I definitely felt trolled by this recipe. I feel like Gordon is sitting there being like, you donuts, you actually made this recipe, you donkey.
You surprise me to how shit you are.
I feel like we've all seen, at this point, we've all seen the Gordon Ramsay eggplant steak. I have some feelings, but I don't want to make them until I've tried the recipe. So today on the Edgy Veg, I'm gonna try and test out this infamous steak by Gordon Ramsay using an eggplant. The instructions seem bizarre. I'm not convinced that an eggplant can make the texture or resemble the texture of a steak. I mean, Gordon Ramsay's like made fun of vegans and vegetarians in the past, so I'm a little confused as to why he thinks that he can cook vegan food. There's a lot of ingredients. It's very time consuming by the looks of things, but you know what? He's a professional, so we're gonna give him the benefit of the doubt. Hi, I'm Candace, the Edgy Veg, and you know, if you wanna be my friend, you can hit the subscribe button if you want. If not, that's cool. We can just go into the video. All right, so this is the vegan steakhouse dinner. There's a lot of elements to this. I'm not gonna do all of them because it's a lot and I know what mashed potatoes taste like. But we are going to do the steak with the wine glazed mushrooms. Skeptical, really skeptical. Don't love eggplant. I shouldn't go into this negatively, but I'm not being negative, I'm being hopeful. For the eggplant steaks themselves, well, we have eggplant, a ridiculous amount of spices. Blown away by all of the ingredients for this steak. And the timing, like I think it said something like an hour and a half, which is like active time, not like inactive time. So, okay, well I've preheated the oven. I have to prepare eggplant steaks. Char eggplant over an open flame using your gas stove. Crickets, because I don't have one of those. Alternatively, char it in the oven. That I do have an oven. So what I'm going to do is I've turned it all the way up to broil. I'm going to trim both sides of this guy and I'm just gonna put it in the oven right up close to where the element is and then just turn it until it's charred. All right, so it's not really charring very much in my oven, so I figured I'd help it along with my torch. Probably shouldn't aim that right at your head, Eric. This isn't in the instructions, but when I blacken like red pepper and I want to take the skin off, I cover it and that should help. While I'm waiting for the eggplant to cool down, I'm going to start with the basting jus. So I'm just going to add red wine, beet juice, rosemary, bouillon, butter, tamari, Worcestershire. Okay, perfect, right into the pot. Got our beet juice. Molly freshly juiced that for us. Red wine, rosemary. Smells kind of bad, but that's fine. I can't smell most things because of when I got COVID. I still don't have my smell back and I can smell this, so that's saying something. Like, it's not that I don't like the smell of hot wine. It's not my favorite in the world, but mix that with like hot beets. All right, bringing that to a rapid boil. We will be reducing it to half a cup. So it's going to be rapidly simmering for a while. Then we whisk in the bouillon and the vegan butter and stir to incorporate. Ooh, I think this is pretty much ready to go. I would say that's reduced to like a little more than half a cup. I'm going to whisk in bouillon, vegan butter, and then remove from heat. I have paste, but you can use cubes if you don't have paste. And then adding in the soy sauce. And this is vegan Worcestershire. If you don't have access to that, I'm sure you could just leave it out or use like liquid smoke or something. I will say right off the bat, this recipe is going to take you all day just because there's so many moving parts and you can't necessarily do one while waiting for the other, which I don't love. It's actually one of the main reasons why I don't write recipes like this, is just because it's not reasonable for the average person to like commit to this. We have things to do. So I'm just gonna go in. It's a little bit hot still, but I'm just going in with my hands and just pulling the skin off. Some areas are quite dry, some aren't. I feel like there definitely should be some sort of like disclaimer right away saying like, if you don't have a gas stove, like this is going to be difficult for you. But we adapt. I'm a little concerned about the texture of this. Eggplant, just one of the reasons why I don't love it is because of its mushy texture. So I'm curious to see how cooking it for this long in the oven is going to change that. I mean, steak has like a very tender but kind of tough, like chewy texture, and I just don't think that's what's going to happen here, but I could be wrong. All right, so I have de-skinned my eggplant. Now I'm going to season liberally on all sides with steak rub. I mean, this seasoning sounds really tasty itself. Like, I would totally use that on like tofu or something, or a different eggplant recipe, maybe not this one. I'm gonna kind of like press it in so it helps stick. It doesn't say how much salt, but it says liberal, so. Then I'm covering it in olive oil and then wine. Okay, roast in the oven for 30 to 45 minutes, turning once carefully. Okay, so this is after 30 minutes. Oh, looking great. So it says to season it. I can't possibly imagine why, since there's so much seasoning, but I'm not a professional. I'm gonna grab the same steak spice and season it again, I guess. And then it says to put it back into the oven for another 30 minutes. It doesn't say to like baste it or anything, it just says to season it again. So I don't really know. Like, this is burning, right? Or did I misread that? It just says season and roast. The au jus part doesn't come in until after 30 minutes again. I'm gonna stick it back in.
Why did the chicken cross the road?
'Cause you didn't fucking cook it.
Okay, so this is straight up burning. I'm taking it out like 15 minutes earlier than I was supposed to. I turned down the oven to 300. So I'm going to drizzle it now with a 1/4 cup of the jus and then cook it for another 15 minutes, turning once. Basting periodically with jus until tender, slightly dehydrated, and eggplant begins to resemble a steak. What? Those are the instructions. It's just not gonna happen. It's not gonna resemble a steak. Hello, we're back like 4 hours later. This is what we have. It actually looked like, not steak, but definitely a cooked piece of meat, but it also looks burnt. But you know what? I'm willing to plate it up the way he suggests and give it a try. So we've made some mashed potatoes here. Good! Love that for me. I will eat this in my personal time. All right, so doing a like bed. Ooh. It does, you know what? It moves and kind of looks like meat. I'll give it that, but this is really burnt. It does like disguise itself well. Like, it really shriveled down. It got that like leathery, almost like, yeah, almost leathery kind of exterior. I'm just not convinced it's going to taste great. I have some mushrooms. I felt like I needed something green. It was just so dark. Okay, well, there she is. Wow. Now I'm very, very curious. Maybe I'll love parts of it, perhaps, maybe.
During the cooking process, it definitely looked more like a roast to me than a steak, especially because a steak is usually like pan fried in like 5 minutes. It's like the fastest meal on the planet. This was all day. We've been here since 8 a.m. making this steak. Yeah, I feel like it looked like a roast and then it looked way overdone.
As I expected, which is a mushy eggplant. Let's go with just the steak first. Okay, so I thought it was gonna be really gross, and it's not really gross, but it's also nothing like the texture of a steak. It is over the top, way too salty. But you know what? I was expecting to really hate this, and I don't hate it, but it's not awful. There's a lot of burnt sticks in it, which I don't enjoy. It's Gordon Ramsay's steak. Weird, right? He just leaves, he's like, no. It's like, the flavor's not terrible, especially since I was expecting it to just taste like burnt, but it has so much like rosemary in it, and it's burnt, the rosemary, and I don't like mushrooms like this either. My favorite way to cook mushrooms, super hot pan, mushrooms, fry them up, salt, that's it. Not like this. I mean, it's fine. I would not order this at a restaurant, nor would I make it again. It's way too much work. The texture is nothing like a steak. The flavor is nothing like a steak. I like the combination of flavors, even with some of the weirder ingredients like the beet juice. Like I get it, the beet juice kind of gives that like iron taste that a steak has. I really just think the eggplant was the wrong way to go. Molly, do you want to try it?
I now have low expectations.
And what do you think about the steak?
Salty.
So salty.
Oh, it's really salty. I can't really taste much else.
Louis just said it's terrible and that's it and left.
Like I'd rather have something else. To me, this steak tasted so salty. And for a lot of the carnivores who I know, they're like, okay, vegan steak, like it's not anywhere close. And so I thought that Gordon Ramsay's steak would be closer to that. It wasn't. It was like, I feel like he may have written this recipe so that you're like, oh, vegan steak is gross. I'll just eat a regular steak. Come on to you, Gordon. First of all, how many times has he made fun of vegans? I am a huge Gordon Ramsay fan, okay? I watch Kitchen Nightmares every single season, Hell's Kitchen, all of them, okay? I love Gordon Ramsay. Did not like this recipe. I thought that Gordon Ramsay doing a vegan recipe would be something unintentionally vegan. Roasted vegetables, some pasta dish, anything. And then if he was gonna use eggplant, it's like there's so many things you can do that are happen to be vegan that would have been 10 out of 10 Gordon style. But this one, it was so many ingredients. It was not easy to follow, especially for like somebody at home. I don't think that was it.
And I mean, for this much work, it should at least taste okay. Save yourself the time, save yourself the money, save yourself having to, just don't, it's not worth it. Make my seitan instead. I'll actually leave the link to my seitan steak and my mushroom steaks in the description box so you can make something that tastes good, that is not this. This is the type of food that you give non-vegans that make non-vegans think vegan food is gross. Gordon Ramsay, I'm gonna have to give you a thumbs down. Maybe try better luck next time. Try again. Try some of my vegan steak recipes on my blog. Maybe it'll inspire you to cook something that doesn't taste like this or look like this.
Gordon Ramsay, I challenge you to make one of our vegan recipes that are meant to be vegan and enjoyed by vegans and carnivores alike. Game on.
If you guys have any recipes that you've seen out there that are a bit interesting or like are made or written by like famous chefs trying to make vegan food, you can leave them in the comment section and I'll try them out. Other than that, hit the subscribe button so we can be friends. If not, that's cool too. And I'll see you next time. Bye.